Okay, in this video we're going to learn about adding arrows to things. I'm going to build something called an arrow here. Arrow, I'll put it at a position of, let's put it at the origin. And then we'll define an axis for the arrow. So what the axis is the direction the arrow points. For every arrow you'll have a position, where's it located, and then an axis, how does it point. Here, totally arbitrarily, I'm going to call it 2, -2, 0. And I'm going to give the arrow a color. We'll make it blue. Okay, if I run the program, there we go. We have an arrow right in the middle at 0, 0, 0, pointing down and to the right. I can look around in three-dimensional space. That's beautiful. But it's not very useful right now. So maybe I want to do something different with the arrow. I've already initialized it up here. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Susan for just no reason at all. But now that I've named it, I can call it by name and update its attributes inside the loop, which means it'll update as the loop runs. So update the arrow, update Susan. To start with, I'm going to have Susan point towards the ball. So I'm going to update the axis of Susan, the direction Susan points, to be equal to the position of the ball, ball1.pos. Now we have an arrow that always points at the ball. It gets pretty big. That might not be the most helpful thing, so instead we could have the Susan arrow point in the direction of the ball's velocity. So we already have a vector that describes velocity, and it's right here. That's already in our code. So we can just set the axis of Susan to be the velocity. And now it always points the direction the ball's moving. It looks a little odd. We're used to, like in Logger Pro, putting the axis, putting the velocity vector on the ball. So we can do that. So Susan POS, the position of Susan, should be set to the position of ball 1. And now she'll follow along as the ball goes. I'm going to slow down the rate just a little bit by about a factor of 2 here. And I also want to shrink the velocity vector because it's looking a little bit big. So just like adding a scale factor in Logger Pro, we can shrink down the velocity vector because its size really is arbitrary. And now we have a gorgeous velocity vector. You could also sort out other things. You could have the force be, the arrow be in the direction of the force or in the direction of the acceleration. Here, if I just set it to A is already a vector. The acceleration is defined within the program. And if I run, then it'll point down in the direction of gravity.